corporate frauds. The investigation wing at Tamil Nadu was the one which recovered the tainted shares. You know that Harshit Mehta, many of the shares were not recovered. Most of the shares that were recovered by the investigation department in Tamil Nadu. It was a team effort, of course. Bombay did it, and the officers here recovered it from a place near Kumbakonam. Now, that is why we need the extensive powers that have been given under the search and seizure provisions, the survey provisions. We have this for a reason. And there is another chain retailer who now no longer exists in a way. He's gone bankrupt. We did a detailed investigation and found that he was running only a kind of a facade. All his transactions were just a kind of an illusion. They were creating illusion of great economic activity. They had incorporated around 30 to 40 companies. The same thing with the software company. The software company, which I talked about earlier, also had created, let's say, it had ABCD India. ABCD India will be owned by ABCD Hong Kong. ABCD Hong Kong will be owned by ABCD Germany. ABCD Germany will be owned by UK. And ABCD UK will be owned by ABCD India. Now, who owns which company? Nobody is able to say. And I said it becomes a very difficult trail for us to unravel. Now, in this world of digital communication, in a minute, we find that a transaction can be routed. I could open an account now online, send money to Australia, and from Australia it could go to the west coast of USA, to the east coast, enters Cayman Islands, enters British Virgin Islands, enters Europe, enters Dubai, and comes back to our country, or Mauritius. In about 10 minutes, I could probably accomplish all this sitting with my laptop or an iPad here in this room. But in order to unravel this, now many of you will be aware of the investigations that we are doing with HSBC or the other Swiss bank accounts which have been in our possession. Do we have a legal case? We have obtained evidence. In many of these cases, searches have been conducted. Yet, the HSBC authorities in Geneva have taken a stand, and they are correct also, that unless you are able to make out an economic offense, they will not disclose the details to us. Now, I will shortly introduce you to PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. You may be wondering, what is black money and what is money laundering? Do all of you appreciate the difference between black money and money laundering? Any money on which tax is not paid would be considered black money. Then what is money laundering?
Tainted money.
Basically, prevention of money laundering deals with proceeds of a crime, and the predicate offences are defined. In the Indian Prevention of Money Laundering Act, income tax evasion is not a predicate offence. The predicate offences are, to name a few, Suppression of Immoral Trafficking Act, NDPS, Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, Arms Act, the Forest Act, the Terrorist and Disruptive Act. These are the predicate offences. So smuggling of arms, smuggling of drugs, organized crime, trafficking in women. These are the crimes which are listed as the predicate offences, and that is why many international authorities are not sharing information with us under the PMLA. When we request for information under the PMLA, they say no, income tax evasion is not a crime in your country the way it has been defined for the purposes of PMLA. We have something called the FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit, and a worldwide convention for sharing of information, and that is basically under the auspices of Prevention of Money Laundering Act. And until the time when income tax evasion is included as a predicate offense in the PMLA, it will not be possible for us to legally get the information flow from some of these, for any of these countries. So these are some of the legal difficulties that stand in a way. Elaborating on certain other issues that we've come across during searches and survey. We have the age of technology has brought with it an enormous scope for doing tax planning, tax avoidance, and tax evasion. We introduced digital forensics and digital recovery right from the year 2004. So we've had, but I'm sure, how many of you have any jewelers assist with you? Can I have a show of hands? Anybody with jewelers? No. If something they may not be telling, most of your jewelers will change every year their hard disk. Do they or don't they? If any of you, if they're not telling you, you ask them. When they found that the department was recovering the deleted files and unaccounted transactions from the hard disk, as soon as the accounts are completed, they buy a new hard disk and junk this old hard disk. Of course, it is scrubbed clean of the data and given, but this is a very standard operating procedure that's going on in the industry. There are several such things. We also found the code itself being manipulated. We had somebody in Madurai and remote parts like Tenkasi, where the sales software was tampered in such a manner, the salesman enters a bill. He makes a bill for 1,000 rupees, collects cash of 1,000 rupees and puts it into his till. And at the end of the day, he goes to his boss and says, "Sir, today's collection is 10,000 rupees. Here are the bills and here is the cash." What is accounted in the server will be only a fraction of that. So if it is 1,000, let's say he wants to account only 75% of this, the amount entered in the software, when the bill printout is 1,000 rupees, the amount entered in the software is only 750 rupees. And a whole industry thrived on this, something called the Jalaba software, where they had made it an art. Of course, we raided Jalaba and found out what were their techniques, and then invoked the provisions of the Cyber Act, and we were a Cyber Technology Act, and we were able to recover. But then these are the kinds of situations that we face. So if somebody feels that these are draconian provisions, now law reflects the society. If we go in for a certain kind of an amendment or certain kind of a provision that is being incorporated, it is because the society itself demands it. We only run after the crime has been committed. So we evolve after the crime has been committed, and these age-old provisions are there to ensure that the honest taxpayer is not harassed. He's not taken for a ride. When the honest taxpayer chooses to pay the tax, the risk taker should be brought in to book. Having said that, today the amount of information that flows to the department means that we concentrate on the top level of cases, and virtually by virtue of information available from FIU, major tax frauds that are done using organized channels, established channels, are liable for deduction, which is why the department's hit rate and the success rate of major crimes has gone up. We no longer concentrate on petty searches, but rather on big time people whose transactions come under after the data which is available by way of AR, by way of FIU is analyzed. Another area which I thought I will touch upon was the powers under section 131 and 133. Under 131, we've had, I think that's my cue. Under section 131, can anybody enter your house? Would anybody, can any income tax authority enter your house under the powers of summon that has been given under section 131 of the Income Tax Act? Any responses, please? Sorry? No. Okay, that has been now settled by the Supreme Court itself. Except that when you enter, you do not do anything other than record a statement. There are times when it is misused and it becomes a de facto permission to enter and search your premises. But any income tax authority, in this case it would be something not less than the rank of an income tax officer, can enter your house if he has to record a statement under 131, given a certain set of circumstances. Supposing the enquiry is of such a nature that it has to be done immediately, there is a certain urgency, not under ordinary circumstances. Ordinarily, a summons has to be issued to you, due notice given, and you asked to appear in the office along with the books and documents. But if the nature of information available with the investigating officer is of such a time constrained one that he has to make an immediate inquiry, then he would be permitted to enter your house, issue a summons, record your statement only, nothing beyond that. He cannot go in and search. If a search is to happen, it has to be done only with the authorization under section 132. Even under 133A, under section 133A, which is the survey, a person can, an income tax authority can enter your houses also. Can anybody tell me under what circumstances an income tax authority can enter your house and when he can enter your house? That would not be enough. Reason to believe would not be enough. Yeah. If during the course of a statement under section 133A, when you're recording a statement, if your office premises is being subjected to action under section 133A, and during the course of the statement, if you admit that you have some material pertaining to your business, some valuables, some cash, or books of accounts, then the authority gets power to enter that premises also. Therefore, only when there is a written admission, there is no categorical doubt about this or there is no ambiguity about this, only when there is a written permission, written acceptance that some material belonging to the business is kept, even then there is a restriction in the time when we are allowed to enter. It has to be in any other place, in any business place, whenever the place is open for business, the income tax authority can enter. So it means that if we go to a place, a restaurant which is open at 11 o'clock in the night, I could start a survey at 11 o'clock in the night. But any other place, which means anything other than a business premises, I can only enter after sun up and before sundown. So these are safeguards that are built into the system so that there is no abuse of these provisions. In this context, I'd also illustrate that when you carry cash, now Election Commission has been detaining you. It has also happened so that in airports we invariably ask, so what is the legal position regarding this? We were involved with the creation of the law on this point. The Chennai unit of the Air Intelligence was responsible for the case law on this front. An NRI was transiting through Chennai airport, and while he was transiting, he was carrying about 1.5 crores of cash. That was seized. Now he challenged it in a writ petition saying that the seizure was illegal, the search was illegal. The court, after examining, found that there was prima facie a case for the officer to have issued. The officer had intercepted him and had recorded a statement from him under 131, and during that statement, the concerned NRI was not able to account for the source of his money, the cash he had. He said there was a bank withdrawal, but the officer checked back with the bank and found that the withdrawal did not cover the exact amount, and the denomination of notes drawn there were different from the denomination of notes here. There were two different things. The cash withdrawal from the bank was only about 60 lakhs, less than 100% of the amount accounted for. There was a time lag, and the third point was that the denomination that was drawn there was very different from the denomination that he was carrying. So for these purposes, they said prima facie a case has been established wherein you are permitted to invoke the provisions of section 132. He challenged it in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has also held that in the interest of the nation, you have to sacrifice the right to your privacy is allowed to be invaded by the income tax department, that they do have the right to issue a summons on the spot, make inquiries, and if satisfied, then go ahead and do the seizure under section 132. Now, these were the broad issues that I had to share with you, and I'll again reiterate that we in the department, we find that on one hand, we have tax planning and the risk-taking behavior increasing, which is a legal kind of a thing. So you create a tax shelter which we may question on a legal basis. Now that is going on, and that is also running into several thousands of crores. On the other hand, we also do have a parallel economy. But with the introduction of something like a GST, when very often, let me also illustrate the case of now a multinational, at that particular point of time, a very major Indian company, in 1999, had evaded taxes to the tune of 147 crores. They had falsified their purchases by 147 crores. We were able to deduct it, establish it, because at that time there were checkposts, commercial tax checkposts. So when they said, we asked them, you have these bills, how did you bring this into the state of Tamil Nadu? You purchased it in the state of Maharashtra, how did you bring this into the state of Tamil Nadu? They said, we transported it by these vehicles. Fine. We checked the border posts that they had to cross, where they had to take endorsements, where the entries were to be made. No such entries were made. And that's how, very conclusively, we were able to prove that these goods had not been transported, apart from the other inquiries. Similarly, there is a landmark decision. Again, it's a very famous case. A gentleman from Tamil Nadu had claimed that he had received gifts in the state of Kashmir and had transported in cash several crores. He transported it to Delhi, and from Delhi it was flown to Bangalore and Chennai by flights, and they were deposited into banks at Bangalore and Chennai. The amounts ran into several crores, almost 100 crores. Now the person who gave the gift, he says, yes, I have the capacity and I did give him. Why or what basis? I don't have any rhyme or reason. I like this person, I like this work, and therefore I have given him this gift. Ultimately, the department was able to break it by making inquiries like the actual transit of the shipment of cash, because they gave the luggage tags. The luggage tags by which the cash was allegedly checked into the flights was given. The only link was, how did it cross Kashmir and reach Delhi? They had said that this was brought by a convoy of certain number of vehicles. So this, again, being a high security area, every vehicle crossing the Jammu and Kashmir checkpoint, the Srinagar checkpoint, is listed. We found two things when inquiries were made. First, that the said checkpoint, the said road was closed because of bad weather during the alleged day in which this had happened. And second, at no point of time, even before or after, had these vehicles crossed. So these are the kinds of situations, day in and day out, that as tax administrators that we face, which brings us the reason for the existence of such provisions. At times, it does hurt the ordinary taxpayer, but then if you have planned your activities and if you have been fair, I'm sure there'll be no issue. Very often we find that assessees do not file their wealth tax returns in time. They do not have records of their valuable purchases. So when a search team goes in, they start saying, look, this is all accounted. But then you should either have the bills of purchase, or the very least, you should have a wealth tax return filed in time. That will act as proof that you've had these jewels in your possession, and which will not be liable for seizure either under the wealth tax or the income tax. Gentlemen, with that, I conclude my speech, and if there are any questions or interactions that is desired, I would like to take.
Dear friends, any practical, don't highlight your personal issues, if anything at a macro level. In fact, at a macro level, sometimes we also represent. Even when Mr. Jaishankar sir, when he assumed Director General of Investigation, we also said that return of gold, some cases, everything cases are over, but they were not doing it. So, which they, our department, they given ultimatum to return. So, some of the chartered accountants who regularly attend our conferences, so they got the benefit, because they can tell, sir, I can return the gold, because they know pretty well within 1 month he will take a decision. So that is why sometimes being there alert coming regularly will give you insight. In fact, he came for another program as a DG. So people who were there, that this is the type of thing we are going to give. That's what he